3 banks have officially been taken over by the FDIC, and the Fed has also stepped in and said that all of the deposits on SVB will be backed, meaning nobody is going to lose money on this massive bank run that just happened. With these 3 banks going under, the Fed's stepping in and essentially creating an unlimited or infinite quantitative easing, does this look like a soft pivot that could absolutely spark a huge run in the stock and crypto markets? Because there's several things that we need to take a look at, including what Jerome Powell recently said in a hearing regarding the unemployment rate, and if you think quantitative easing or tightening is still needed. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about XRP specifically, some of the technical analysis based on some of the support and resistance lines, as well as what could possibly be happening with Bitcoin based on sentiment. We're going to talk about all these things in this video. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we are talking about cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, go ahead, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you join the Late Night Grind community. Also, if you could do a couple of things, I'd really appreciate it. Smash that thumbs up button and watch this video all the way to the end. Those are the 2 best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So if you do that, I greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, let's jump into it. So as of Monday morning, everybody was fearing bank runs. Well, that didn't exactly happen because Silicon Valley Bank was in fact backed by the Feds, who said all of the money in the bank will be, all of the depositors, all of the companies that have deposits in the bank will be backed by the Feds. Essentially saying, listen, we're going to cover all the billions of dollars in there. Don't worry about it. So what actually caused the Silicon Valley Bank to fail? Well, some of it had to do with the fact that they had long-term investments tied up and they didn't have enough cash on hand required to facilitate all of the withdrawals. Now, why were there such massive withdrawals? Well, over the course of about the past year, all banks have been experiencing more withdrawals year over year for the first time in approximately 100 years. Silicon Valley Bank is no different. The interesting thing with Silicon Valley Bank is the fact that they are very, very tech heavy, in which they service startups, a lot of which are in the tech industry. And of course, some of those companies were taking out large sums of money, including some of the executives and people like Mark Zuckerberg that also use that bank, taking out millions upon millions of dollars weeks before the collapse. The other thing that caused that bank run was the bank itself. Well, the CEO announced that they were going to be raising capital, about $2.2 billion in capital needed to cover the existing deposits. Well, that was basically the catastrophic word that was needed for all the depositors to show up and try to pull out all of their cash, thus causing a bank run. They were forced to sell long-term assets for far less than what they were worth, which now we know that it was actually Goldman Sachs that bought the $21 billion worth of assets, worth approximately $24 billion from SVB. But nonetheless, they tried to do that to save what they could. Unfortunately for them, that didn't happen, and the Feds had to step in and take over. Now, there were 2 other banks, Silvergate as well as Signature Bank. Interestingly, Jim Cramer on CNBC a couple of months ago said that Silvergate and Silicon Valley Bank are both good buys. I don't know why he continues to be so wrong. But nonetheless, I want to hear from you guys regarding this particular event, because here we have a very polarizing thing in which we're looking at banks or any business that are seemingly too big to fail. The Feds then step in and give essentially an unlimited amount of money, even though it's not really unlimited, just what they had on deposit. And on one hand, you have the people saying, stop giving bailouts. This is ridiculous. Just let the businesses fail. Let the banks fail. You're only hurting rich people anyway. They lose some money, not a huge deal. On the other side, there's a lot of people that think the contagion from this, meaning that there could have been dozens, possibly hundreds of other bank runs, as people would have been scared to death if there'd been an actual bank run on SVB. Meaning people would have been running to the bank to take out their cash. Their banks would have said, hold on, we don't have all that cash. You're going to need to chill, and that would have caused absolute pandemonium, not only in the banking sector, but of course in the rest of the markets, crypto, everything would have been an absolute mess. Do you foresee Jerome Powell doing something called a soft pivot and then to a hard pivot, or is he going to not pivot at all and continue to raise rate? Because he is involved in the other reason why there was a bank run on SVB. That being that the rates have been rising incredibly high very, very quickly, obviously to try to fight inflation. Now, by doing that, they're also making the bonds that the banks were holding worth a lot less, which is why Silicon Valley Bank had to sell at a loss. So they're essentially making their values worth less. So you have Jerome Powell, who is essentially hell-bent on taking down inflation. But in order to do that, he is hell-bent on raising rates. Well, raising rates was part of what contributed to SVB's collapse and the unemployment rate rising. Because according to some historical statistics, the unemployment rate rising is what helps keep supply and demand in check and essentially prevent prices from going up even further. Even though it may not turn deflationary where prices actually come down, he is at least trying to hold steady. So nonetheless, the CPI numbers came in at 6%, which was better than last month, 6.4%, but it's still a long way off from the 2% that Jerome Powell and the Fed are trying to achieve. And in a recent hearing, Senator Kennedy had put Jerome Powell on the spot and said, listen, if your idea is to stave off inflation and bring it back down from 6% to 2.2%, going back on historical statistics, unemployment would need to be at about 10.6%, whereas currently it's about 3.6%. And of course, he tried to tiptoe around that question, but nonetheless, it came out the same way, and that is, yes, unemployment would have to essentially skyrocket. Now, is the Biden administration actually going to let that happen on his watch? I don't know. He might. He doesn't seem to care about anything else that's been going on lately. And on that side, you also have Elizabeth Warren trying to point to the fact that SVB was very tech-heavy, that it was a crypto-friendly bank, that it was very risk-on, and that is part of the reason why it collapsed. That was only a very small portion why there were several other reasons that I just discussed as to why it collapsed. And John Deaton, our favorite attorney, who is also involved in the SEC versus Ripple case, responded to Senator Elizabeth Warren, asking her to recuse herself from anything that the SEC is involved in because of her inability to oversee the SEC during the FTX and several other debacles that Gary Gensler was head of the SEC during, and still is. So let me know in the comment section down below, do you think Jerome Powell and the Fed are going to pivot and turn on the money printer? Or is he going to go all out and continue raising rates, which will more than likely lead to higher unemployment? Because this story is going to be ongoing, and we are definitely going to be following it. Now, in terms of what the crypto market's going to do, well, those three banks that just went under were considered crypto-friendly, meaning they were off and on ramps from fiat to crypto. Now, there's still several other banks and several other methods in which you can on-ramp your fiat currencies into cryptocurrencies. But nonetheless, a lot of other people are thinking that this is more fun, this is government action going after specifically the crypto market. I think there's a lot more involved in it than just that. Because right now, we are in a very interesting time frame because you have the three banks that just collapsed were considered crypto-friendly, at least that's what you read in the headlines. You also have a point at which many believe that Bitcoin has bottomed at 16,000, and now that it was up at over 26,000 recently, as recently as yesterday, even regarding these banking collapses, that the crypto market's going to be on the way up as a lot more people are starting to be quote-unquote orange-pilled and join the crypto and Bitcoin communities and taking their money out of what they previously thought was a safe banking sector and putting it into cryptocurrencies. Now, obviously, the value of cryptocurrencies are going to fluctuate wildly, but the software running behind several of the projects are rock solid. Obviously, not all of them. There are still scams galore. So if Bitcoin continues its uptrend, right now, what I'm looking at XRP from a technical perspective is the fact that it's been bumping along the bottom point of a support level for the past about 10 months. Since last May, there's been a support line. It's an uptrend support line in which XRP has been bouncing off of when it is at its low points, which it is at currently or very near. So what's the next high point? Well, I believe it's about 57 cents based on some very quick technical analysis because, well, that's the previous high point several months ago. However, based on some of the RSI and some of the bullish divergence in the RSI points to the fact that XRP could be going skyward. Now, there is a big issue at play right now, obviously that being Ripple versus the SEC, and many people thinking the likelihood of this case coming to an end is very, very, very soon. Some people say within the coming weeks or possibly a couple of months, but nonetheless, it's going to be ending very quickly. This, based on some of the analysis that both John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan, as well as several other legal entities on Twitter have been discussing this case because of the fact that the judge recently came out with some decisions based on some of the things that Ripple and the SEC have submitted, in which they wanted recused from expert testimony, which the judge allowed and denied, some for Ripple and some for the SEC. Leads some to believe that Judge Annalisa Torres has already made her decision regarding the regulatory status of XRP. So if that happens and it gets good regulatory clarity, and of course, if Ripple comes out as a success, I think 57 cents, I think it's going to absolutely blow past 57 cents very, very, very quickly. Nonetheless, there's a lot of things that the timing is shaking out in a very, very interesting way. If Bitcoin continues to hit its uptrend, Ripple gets its win against the SEC. In fact, there's several other things going against the SEC this week that alone could have price impacts on some of the crypto market, including Bitcoin. We're talking about the spot ETFs, as well as some other things. And that's why I believe we're going to be seeing more of a price uptrend in XRP specifically. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Yes, I have opened up the comment section again. If you remember from previously when I was making videos fast and furiously, I took down the comment section because it was loaded with scams and spam. There were far more spam comments than they were actual viewer comments, so I shut it down for several months. In these videos that I'm putting out now, I am reopening the comment section down below because I want to hear what you guys think of the bank runs, of the XRP price target, and about what the Fed could do with the rest of the economy. So leave a comment down below, and you can also follow me on Twitter. We can have a discussion there as well. Even though I haven't been putting up videos as furiously as I had been, I'm still very active on Twitter. You can see me over there. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.